All right, we are live now. So you might have to refresh your screen. I'll tell everyone in the chat too.
Okay. And I guess they can't hear you and me talking right now.
I think everyone can hear us now.
Oh, okay.
FYI. Let's see, you might have to hit play to get the video. Okay, now let me just stop it so we don't hear ourselves a million times. Okay, good. Cassandra said she can hear us. Everyone, please hit play if the video isn't already playing for you. Okay. So Jen, you can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, yep.
Okay, good. All right, well, so I usually just wait. I give people like 5 minutes to join. I think we had almost 40 people sign up for this. So hopefully more of them will come on. We have about 9 watching at the moment. Welcome, everybody. And I just happened to see Long Haul Trekkers' latest Instagram post telling everyone that it's World Emoji Day. So if everyone hasn't yet, make your way over there and comment and tell Jen what your plans are this weekend using just emojis. All right.
Big story.
Yeah. Usually I like to let everyone like see us before I go straight to the slides. So wait, this is us. But I'll go over to the slides because we actually do have a couple ones that are like intro, get to know us kind of slides, and we actually planned ahead. All right, let's see. Here we go, screen share.
Tori, I'm hearing weird, like it's like repeating what we're saying.
Do you have the sound turned on? If you're watching it at wearwagrepeat.com, you might just want to hit pause on that video.
Pause. Okay.
And then you won't get double the audio.
Okay. Clearly I'm the newbie.
That's okay. The first time I did this, it took me a while to figure that out. Are you good now?
I'm good. Yeah, I muted it.
All right, cool. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Tori Mystic, and halfway around the world is Jen Sotolongo of Long Haul Trekkers. And today we are doing a free webinar called Instagram Stories for Pet Bosses, also really great for pet bloggers. Jen and I are both dog bloggers. So we're really excited to lend our expertise because we love Instagram stories and it can be really helpful to your blog. So let me just change this so that it is full screen. There we go. Like I said, my name is Tori Mystic. I am a dog mom blogger at Wear, Wag, Repeat. I have also been a social media consultant for over 9 years, and I'm a total Instagram addict. In fact, I transitioned my business to be all social media, and now I only do Instagram coaching and consulting. So I'm addicted to Instagram. And I'm also the creator of Instamystic, which is what I call my Instagram coaching business. Jen, want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Jen Sotolongo. and a blogger at Long Haul Trekkers, which was born after my husband and I decided to take our dog Sora on a bicycle tour across Europe and South America for 2 years. So I had the blog at first to keep in touch with family and friends, and then it's grown into more. And I also am a writer, photographer, content creator. And as Tori mentioned, we relocated to Spain about 3 months ago and are settling down here and exploring a new place. And yeah, we're excited to be here and sharing with you guys because I really love Instagram stories. It's funny, we were about to create a Snapchat account, and it seemed like the next week Instagram came out with Instagram stories, and I'm super happy that I have fewer social media accounts I have to manage now.
That's a very good thing. There's enough to manage.
Yes.
All right, so if you are watching this at wearwagrepeat.com where it's hosted, please comment in the chat box below with your Instagram username so that we can all find each other afterwards. And Jen and I will do our best to follow up with everyone and sort of check on what you're doing. If you'd like to find us, at the bottom of this slide are our Instagram handles. I have 2 because I'm a crazy person. And Jen is at Long Haul Trekkers. Okay, so you are here because you love Instagram, right? It is addictive. It's so fun to see what everyone's doing. And as dog bloggers, we have our feeds full of adorable dog photos. And so that's always a bonus. But Instagram can be kind of hard to keep up with. I hear from a lot of people that they're just intimidated about creating content or creating the right kind of content and keeping up with having enough photos to post. It can really be a lot of work. And a lot of people tell me that they don't really know what to post. They kind of get stumped or like writer's block about what kind of photos to post and what kind of captions to post with them. So luckily, stories are the answer to most of your problems because stories only live for about 24 hours in general. There should be like a little asterisk there because of the new highlights feature, which we'll cover a little bit. Stories are also really easy to do because in general, they have a really low production value. And what that means is that they're not usually really highly edited content. So you can easily snap stuff and put it out there. You don't have to worry about it being perfect because that's how stories are designed to be. They're designed to be very realistic. They also create a lot of brand trust and transparency because even though you're a dog blogger, you are actually a brand. You're creating a following for yourself. And if you know it or not, you're actually a brand. So using stories can help people kind of see the real life behind the perfect photos that you're posting in your feed. Or they don't have to be perfect, but they just kind of show you the real life behind the scenes. Stories can also reinforce your blog content or services that you offer. So if you do a blog post about a certain topic, you can share a lot more about it on Instagram stories, and sometimes speaking and using your voice and almost like making eye contact with your followers can help reinforce whatever you're trying to get across with a blog post that could just be text and photos. Stories are also great because they don't require a lot of planning. You can plan them out, but they're wonderful because you can just do them in the moment if you feel like it. And the best thing about stories is that if you have a phone with a camera, you can do them. Anyone can do Instagram stories. So in this webinar today, we're going to be covering a few things. It's just an hour workshop, which seems like a lot of time, but actually there's so much to talk about with Instagram stories. So we have narrowed it down to a few topics. So we're going to talk about how you can boost engagement using some really fun tools like polls, questions, and mentions. Jen is going to talk about telling a story because these are stories. So you want to make sure that you're telling a compelling story to your followers. Jen's also going to talk to us about promoting your work, so how you can be creative and use Instagram stories to get more traffic to your blog posts. And then we're going to wrap it up with some fun effects like GIFs and filters that are some of my favorite things to do on Instagram stories. Okay, so boosting engagement. This is very important. Engagement basically means actions. So you want your followers to take actions on your stories as much as possible. We can all get stuck on just like watching something, almost like binge watching stories. I catch myself doing that all the time. But if you can do something that compels your viewers to reply to your story, to share it with someone, to mention you in their own stories, answering a poll or a question, giving a reaction to something, sliding up to click on a link, or resharing one of your stories in some way, the more you can get your followers and your viewers to take actions like those, the more views you will get. So it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg kind of scenario. You want to get views on your stories, but in order to get more views, you have to get more actions. So like, how exactly do you do that, right? First things first is Instagram Stories has a ton of things built right into it that helps you encourage your viewers to take action. One of the newest features that they have is sharing your mentions. So as you can see, I took a couple screenshots from my own account. This is actually just from yesterday, so this is very fresh content. I came out with some GIFs that I made just for my account because there weren't a lot of great dog mom GIFs available. So I decided to make some, and I just released them this week. And so I encouraged a lot of my followers to use my GIFs and to mention me in their stories so I could see how they use them. Don't be afraid to ask your viewers and your followers to do things. So you can publish a bunch of stories asking your followers, please reply to this, or if you have an opinion on this, make a story and mention me in it. Ask people to mention you, because when you get mentioned, and what I mean by that is not just like mentioning you by name when they're talking, but actually putting in at your username, so at TMystic for me. When someone mentions my account in their story, I get a little direct message, which is the screenshot on the left, and a newish feature within the last month or so, there's a little blue link above the story that says add this to your story. So if I click that little blue link, it automatically populates it into a new story for my account, and it will automatically mention the original poster, and I can add things to it and edit it. So for this one, I added the pink and yellow text bars that you see above so that I could tell this person, Total Oakley, how much I loved them using my GIFs and just sharing some love and showing appreciation for my audience. So that's a really, really great way to show your audience that you care about them. And also it creates free content for you. So if you're struggling to figure out what you're going to post to your stories all the time, if you get a lot of mentions, you can just share those mentions and add them to your story. And that gives you a lot of automatic free content. As a bonus, I mentioned earlier that there are Instagram highlights that can extend the life of your stories. This webinar, we're not going to really go into highlights, but if anyone's interested, I can share a link later because I created a video showing you exactly how to do it. And you can add all of your fan mentions to a highlight. That would be kind of a fun way to give some special attention to your followers and your fans. So everyone, I, by the way, am not looking at the chat box. So if you're asking questions, please ask away and then we'll cover them all at the end. I think Jen is keeping an eye on it. So I have this slides full screen, but keep doing what you're doing if you're commenting. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is the polling feature. So this is a really fun tool and I use it all the time. I most recently used it because I'm working on naming some candles, which is why I'm wearing a Santa Claus hat. I'm working on some candles for the holidays, and I wanted to get my followers involved in the naming process. And you could use this for anything. You could use it for coming up with blog post titles, or, I've seen people asking their followers, what should I feed my dog for dinner or something like that. So you could have a lot of fun with it, and you could tie it into different blog posts or different things that you're doing. Maybe ask your followers what you should do with your dog. Should you take them swimming or should you take them hiking? And give them the option to vote. And then what's important is that you actually follow through on what your fans are suggesting that you do, because that will just create a bond and a trust with your followers that is really important and will help sort of grow your brand. So as you can see, I gave people 2 options for candle names, and Fur Baby had the most votes. You can see on the right is a snapshot of the insights, and you access that by just sliding your finger up on any of your stories, and you'll be able to see how many viewers you got. Something to note is I think that you have to have a business account in order to access all of the insights. So consider switching over to a business account if you haven't already. But as you can see from the insights, this story had almost 1,200 views and 74 votes for Fraser Fur and 121 votes for Fur Baby. So I can see it was pretty close, but Fur Baby definitely won out, and that is actually the name that I'm going to use for my holiday candle. So I'm really excited to release that and share with my followers that they really contributed to helping me figure out my name. So as you can see in the bottom half of the insights, it tells you exactly which users voted for which option. So if I really wanted to be very thorough, when this candle comes out, I could direct message all the people who voted for Fur Baby and tell them that the candle is now available to order. So that would be like a very, very involved approach to do it. But you could do this in more fun ways, like I mentioned, asking what you should do with your dog on a given day. All right, and so this is another fun thing, is the reaction slide or reaction poll. I actually don't use this that much. I had to create a new example to use as I was going through my archive. I don't use it that much. But I want to show you guys because it's very fun and it's very, very easy for people to respond to. So it's a little slider. And what's neat about it is that you can choose different emojis. So I have the heart eyes one, but there are different. There's flame, angry face, shocked, sad. If you slide over, there's even like the poop emoji is over there. So I know as dog bloggers, the poop emoji comes up a lot. So you can use that. You can also change the color of the font in your question to make it more on brand for your blog. So you can do a lot of fun things with this. And then very similar to the polling feature, if you slide up, you'll see what the average reaction was. So, you could ask a question that automatically most of your fans are going to have a positive reaction to. You can't really get yes or no answers with the reaction tool. So it's really just kind of something to have fun with. But the more interactive that you make your stories and the more actions that people take on them, the more engaging your account will be in the eyes of Instagram. And then the more people Instagram will show your stories to. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Okay, another super new feature, because Instagram just loves to come out with new stuff pretty much constantly, is the questions tool. So this is also in stories. And by the way, all of these things, if you create a new story and capture a photo or video, and you click on the little sticker icon at the top of the screen, it's next to the text tool and the drawing tool. That's where you'll find all of these things. They're built right into the platform. So questions is a new thing. The automatic text that's in the question field says, ask me a question. And when this first came out, everyone was publishing it just out of the box that way, how it came, ask me a question. And followers could type in that little box that says type something, and they could ask you a question. But I kind of think it's fun to ask your followers a question and then have them answer it. And so that's how I used this one. I was teasing a workshop that I'm hosting at a painting studio next week. And I had a little clip of Lucy walking around the warehouse where the painting studio is. And one of my followers did reply, painting studio. And so the screen on the right shows me sharing their answer. And then Instagram allows you to put a photo or a video or whatever you want behind. Let me just dismiss that, behind the answer, and then you can add more stuff. So I also added a link to, actually I told people to go to the link in my bio to get tickets for the upcoming class. So this is also a really great way that you could share advice with fans, any of your most frequently asked questions. You could respond to them in this way. You could also get ideas for blog topics. If you're really stuck and have some writer's block, you could ask your followers what they want to know about you and your dog or your lifestyle or anything like that. And then whatever all the answers are, bada bing, there you go. It's a whole bunch of blog post topics, so that's easy. And then I'm also really big on customizing colors to fit in with your brand. So I use a lot of pink, if you haven't noticed already. And so I made my question box pink, but you can make it match your brand. All right, so I hope that helps all of you guys figure out some ways to boost engagement on your stories and maybe gives you some ideas that you hadn't thought of already. Now, Jen is going to talk to us about telling the story because after all, these are stories that we're sharing. So take it away, Jen.
All right, so yes, as Tori mentioned, these are stories. And before I get into the art of telling a story, I'll also say, it's totally okay to just upload random videos from, whatever you're doing throughout the day with your dog. Or often I don't even include the dogs because it kind of gives me a chance to show what I do outside of my dog. So for example, I'm training for this long race and neither of my dogs is able to run with me right now. So I'm uploading images from my runs. And so that's totally okay to do. It doesn't always have to be storytelling time. But if you do want to tell a story, the way I often like to do it is I'll kind of switch depending on the story I'm telling. I'll switch between recording directly in Instagram and using my phone's recording option in camera to create longer pieces that I might cut up, or to just kind of be able to piece the story together the way that I want it. So if you didn't realize this, you can also record on your phone. And when you go to upload your stories, you just swipe up and it has all of your content there that you can choose from. And it doesn't have to be within the 24-hour time limit like it used to when stories first came out. So I really like doing that, and it allows me to save content for later as well. In this example here, so one of my dogs, Sora, had radiation treatment recently for a cancerous tumor that she had, which should be gone. You haven't heard or seen otherwise now, so she's doing well. But after finishing therapy, I wanted to do something special for her, and I made her her favorite meal. So I started out my story by asking, hang on, I'm going to turn off live because I'm hearing an echo. So I started off the story by asking my audience what they think I'm making Sora for dinner, what they think her favorite is. And I said, here's a hint, and I took a picture of an uncooked falafel ball. And then I said, send me your guesses while it cooks. So, even though the story wasn't available to read in time, in succession, because I was cooking the falafel, I asked questions so that my audience would stay engaged while it was cooking. And I got a lot of feedback from guesses. Most people did guess falafel. And so I mentioned that in some of the stories. I said, yeah, so-and-so guessed it. And then I had my final slide showing Sora with her big excited eyes, ready for the meal, and the whole, I'd say from start to finish of this particular story was 45 minutes or so. So that kept my audience engaged for 45 minutes. And the story I was talking about it's important to get feedback from your audience and to get that engagement. So this story, kept them guessing, and kept them, waiting for the answer and waiting to see what Sora was going to be eating that night for dinner. Another story I did recently, I told a bit of the story in my photos that day. I tend to personally do long captions in my stories, in my posts. And so I talked about this cat that we found while we were camping, and told a little bit about her story, and which was quite sad, as her mother had been killed and had a brother as well that disappeared. And she was crying, and so stories of our rescue of her. We called around to find a shelter that would take her and stayed with her for a couple of hours until the shelter could pick her up. And so in my photo post, I mentioned the story, and then I said, go to my Instagram stories to see more of this cat, to see what she looked like, to watch the whole rescue story. And this did really well. You can see at the time that I took this photo, the last photo with her in the shopping cart makeshift kennel had 1,000 views. And people that in turn affected my photo post which got about 1,500, which is well beyond my average. But you see the correlation between posting engaging stories and getting likes on your post. All right, so next up is promoting your work. So I have a blog, and whenever I post a new blog up, I mention it in my regular posts, and I still do the link in bio thing just to point people to more places on the link and get there. And I also use Canva to create templates that I can share. They're kind of little snippets of my blog posts. So you can see on this one, I have my first slide new on the blog, how to take great photos of Instagram, swipe up to read. So the swipe up to read is my call to action. And unfortunately, but not necessarily, depending on how you look at it, only accounts, I think it's maybe even business accounts with 10,000 people, 10,000 followers or more, and have this option to link. So if you don't have 10,000 followers, a bit of a workaround is to link to your own Instagram account, and then click on the link in bio. So when people click on your profile, it'll take you directly to your profile, and they'll see that link right there. So that's a bit of a workaround if you don't have that 10,000 followers to get this feature. Anyway, so this post had a lot of tips about taking pictures of your dog for Instagram, and I kind of wanted to tease people so they could get an idea of what they would be expecting to find in this particular post. So, I had one tip that was, you don't need fancy equipment, use the camera you have, and I included a photo that took just with your phone and snaps to prove that you can take good photos with your phone. The second one is get on your dog's mobile, which shows a picture of me squatting in front of Sora to take a picture, and then another one saying that lighting everything with some beautiful lighting in the background to just kind of show people what they can expect from the blog, and make sure that they're seeing my work. Another way I like to use stories is by doing takeovers. Companies are always looking for more content. So if you propose doing I always call it a story takeover, they will likely be more than happy to And I did this one for Kurgo, which makes dog gear, and they asked me to do one about how to run with your dog. And so, you know, I introduced myself and Sora, and I announced, you know, that we're doing this running with the dog takeover, and then I included three tips to know about running with a dog. And each slide featured one of their products and showed how I use it, you know, before, during, or after a run. And this was before there was the questions option that Tori just mentioned. I think that came out last week. But if I were to do this again, I would include another slide that says, what questions do you have for me about running with the dog? And then I could keep them more engaged for longer, which would be, you know, more beneficial to the brand. So that's that. Storytelling and using calls to action to promote your work. We're going to turn it back over to Tori, who's going to teach you to have some fun with Instagram stories.
Yeah. Sorry, I went ahead a minute too soon. I couldn't remember if you had one more slide. Okay, so thank you so much, Jen. I think that you do such a good job of like thinking ahead, like the story that you did about planning out Sora's radiation special dinner that she had with the falafels. I love how you kind of thought about what the ending would be and then kind of backtracked and wrote the beginning of the story. So that's such a great example. Now, I want to remind everyone, my dog is such an inspiration to me. I like to remind myself, you know, like, what would Lucy do? And it reminds me to kind of live in the moment and to have fun with everything that I do. So I want you to also think like a dog and have fun with your stories. Maybe you don't want to post to your stories exactly what your dog would post, but it's a fun thing to think about. So there are lots and lots of fun effects in stories. Like Jen mentioned earlier, she was thinking about doing a Snapchat account, but Instagram stories came out and they seem to kind of be overtaking what Snapchat does with just as many fun, exciting features. So one of my favorite things to do is use face filters. I don't always feel like I look camera ready, and I think that can be a roadblock to a lot of people who are afraid of doing Instagram stories, because as dog bloggers, we usually photograph our dogs a lot and don't feature ourselves as much. Of course, not me, because I put myself on everything, but if you're a little bit intimidated and don't want your face on everything, there are a ton of filters that you can use to block your face out a little bit. I love using the sunglasses filter. There's like 6 different sunglasses that you can choose from. And on the screenshot on the far left, you can see that day, like my hair was wet. I'd just gotten out of the shower. I didn't really want my face on camera, but I wanted to talk about this product that I was doing a sponsored post for. So I threw on my sunglass filter. And there are tons of different ones that you can choose from for that. And it not only sort of hides parts of your face that you might not want to show, but it also makes your stories just kind of fun and different. So it's really a win-win. Another cool thing that you can do, I love to customize the look of the text in my stories to go with stuff. And the rainbow text is a really, really fun feature that takes a little bit of practice to get just right. But I'll see if I can explain it really quick here. If you write out some text on your Instagram stories, you'll see the color picker down below. And you may not know this, but if you hold your finger down on any of those colors, it will open up a full color spectrum and you can choose any color. You don't have to choose just from the presets. So if you want to get the rainbow text, what you do is you first double tap your text to highlight all of it. Then you hold one finger down on one end of the color spectrum to pull up the full spectrum of colors, and then simultaneously slide one finger along the highlighted text from left to right or right to left, and at the same exact time slide your other finger across the color spectrum in the same direction, and that will give you the rainbow text. So it's a really fun thing to experiment with. I have to say it takes a lot of practice to get it right, and it can be very frustrating. I recommend doing it with your phone sitting flat on a table or something like that. You can't really do it when you're just holding your phone. And if anyone has like a little stylus tool, like a little touch screen pen, that can also help because sometimes our fingers are a little bit too big to do these kinds of like little tedious things. So that's a fun thing that will keep you busy this afternoon for a while, playing with rainbow text. And then the third thing that I really, really love is GIFs. So in the stories sticker library, there is a section for GIFs, and you can search for almost anything and find some kind of a fun GIF that goes along with it. There's everything from cartoon things to sayings to photos that are animated in some way. On this screenshot on the right, I just used this fun little cartoon guy to make this doom and gloom rainy day photo a little bit more fun. There's also a ton of GIFs if you just search for swipe up or slide up. If you do have the swipe up feature for links and stories, that's a great fun way to add that call to action to your stories, because there's a ton of really fun and colorful arrows and little animations that it can encourage people to do that. In the same vein, there's a lot of fun little GIFs that say link in bio, or just different kind of call to action things to get people more engaged. And then I mentioned earlier that I actually created custom GIFs just for my brand, and they are now available to the world on Instagram. So I'm going to be writing a blog post about that this week through my Instamistic account to kind of show everyone how I did that. But just to give you a little teaser, there's a website called Giphy. It's GIPHY.com. And that is the site where all of the GIFs on Instagram are sourced from. So if you go to Giphy.com, you can set up an account. You want to make sure that you set it up as a brand or artist account, not just a regular user. And from there, you can create GIFs and upload them to your account, and then they'll be available on Instagram. Of course, that sounds super easy. I actually had to hire an artist through Fiverr.com, which is a place that you can hire people to do things for you for pretty cheap. Sometimes just for $5 to do things. I had someone in India create 5 different GIFs for me, and I gave him directions for what I wanted them to say, like dog hair don't care, and I wanted a paw print that turned into a heart, and I wanted a chocolate lab throwing confetti in the air. So these were some of the ideas that I had that I gave to this artist, and he went and created the GIFs for me as GIF stickers, and then I uploaded them to my Giphy account, and it took a little bit of time, but they eventually populated in the Instagram search bar, and that's just been really, really fun. I've been telling people about them, and people have been using them in their stories, and it's just a really fun way to sort of extend my brand and also make GIFs that I wanted that weren't available before. So I hope that sort of gives you some ideas for creative things that you can do with your stories, from very, very basic, like the face filter, which takes no effort. Rainbow text is a little more complicated, and then creating your own GIFs would be the advanced option. All right, so just reviewing everything that we have talked about so far here today, the most important thing about getting more engagement on your Instagram stories is to make them actionable. So asking people to reply or take some kind of an action on your stories, you're going to get a lot more engagement and a lot more views in the long run. We also talked about sharing mentions. So in order to get those, remember to tell people to mention you so that you can share those stories on your own account. How you can extend the life of things using highlights. We also covered polling and reactions and using questions, which you can use to get ideas for future blog posts as well. And then Jen talked about telling the story, how you can put together like a story arc, basically, and make it really compelling and keep your audience engaged for a while. She also showed you how you could use Canva to create really beautiful slides and keep your audience engaged and using a call to action, otherwise known as a CTA, to get people to do things like click on the link in your bio or slide up to read the full post. And then, of course, we've wrapped up with having fun with all the special effects in Instagram. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this. This is our contact information if you'd like to reach us in any way. I'm sure that Jen and I will be available to reply to any DMs that you have, and you can also check out our blogs or email us if you have a longer question that you want to ask. But before we sign off, I want to open this up to questions, and I'm going to go back to the other screen. I'm going to exit out of this so that I can actually see your questions, hopefully. Okay, stop screen sharing. All right. Okay, so I'm going to slide up a little bit and see what kind of questions we have here. Oh, good. A lot of people shared their usernames, so we'll be following up and checking in on everything. And someone asked if this will be available for viewing afterwards. So yes, if you're watching this now, or if you signed up via email, you'll be getting the link to watch this later. It'll be available on this webpage for the next 48 hours or so if you want to watch it. Okay, any other questions? We still have a few people watching, so if anyone would like to know anything about Instagram stories, we're happy to help you. So Jen, if you were to create a custom GIF, what would it be?
I was actually thinking about that as you were talking about yours. I had always wanted, I had tried and failed to make a emoji of Sora, and I couldn't get one that I liked. But I think I would do maybe a Sora emoji during her. She does circles, and when she's really excited, she'll do like 3 in a row. Maybe I would do that.
Yeah, like a little Zoomies dog.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we did get one question here about, are you using stories in conjunction with IGTV? Have you done IGTV?
I haven't tried it yet.
So I tried it. Lucy and I went on a trip to New York City and the Hamptons. So we were in New York City most of the time with 5 dogs, and then we went to the Hamptons for one night with 7 dogs, just because why not? And so that was like the perfect opportunity, I thought, to try out Instagram TV, because that just sounds like a reality show to me. 5 girls and 7 dogs. And so what I found about IGTV is that you cannot broadcast live directly through IGTV. Actually, you have to upload a video that you've pre-recorded. So I ended up doing an Instagram Live, which is sort of through the Stories interface. So I used the Stories interface to do an IG Live of us having 7 dogs at the beach in the Hamptons. And I did not go back and edit it at all. I just when you finish a live video, it gives you the option to save it to your camera roll. So I saved it, and then I went to IGTV and uploaded it. And it was a couple minutes long, I think. But I haven't really experimented too much. I see people uploading videos that have like start graphics and end graphics and things like that kind of integrated into it. Actually, one of our Instagram friends, Maggie Loves Orbit, I saw her doing IGTV that was like a little bit more edited. To be honest, I haven't gotten that into it, but it seems cool. It seems almost like the YouTube of Instagram. If Stories is the Snapchat of Instagram, then IGTV is like YouTube a little bit. But yeah, I don't think it takes away from Stories. It's kind of its own separate thing.
Tori, do you know, because I know Instagram, IGTV, to my chagrin, is encouraging people to shoot vertical video. And I started making a square video from a horizontal video I had already had, and just never uploaded it because it was too big. But do you know if IGTV will accept square videos? Was my effort even worth it?
That's a really good question. Off the top of my head, I want to say that it is formatted for vertical videos. But since it just came out a couple of weeks ago, I have seen a bunch of blog posts about how to convert videos, how to edit vertical videos, because I know from experience that a lot of editing software, like I use iMovie, it's not formatted for square or vertical videos. So in the past, when I wanted to create a square video, I would edit the whole thing and just kind of eyeball where everything lined up, and then I'd go into Instagram and create the video and then like crop it down to a square and then save it as a draft. And like, it was a very multi-step process to get it like that. So I don't know like about reverse engineering that and turning your square into a vertical, but I'm sure there's a way.
Maybe I'll have to try it and compress it and see if that actually works.
Yeah. And I don't know what how long is the video?
This one's, I think it was like 3 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I don't know what the time limit is for IGTV, but I would bet you it's like an hour or something.
I feel like I heard that somewhere as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be plenty long enough. So, all right, well, I don't see any other questions popping up here. We have a few stragglers still watching us just chatting here, which is wonderful. But if you don't have anything else to add, I think we'll just kind of sign off. Sound good?
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And if you want to rewatch this at all, it'll be available at this link. I'll send an email out to everyone. You can rewatch it on repeat if you feel like it. And thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Have a really wonderful day, and you can catch us on Instagram.
Bye, everyone.